Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
From our headquarters in Nigeria and across the world, I welcome you to Enterprise Morning. I am Henry Igwebike. There's lot on the plate already as the news circle on the rivers crisis appears to be dousing, except, of course, we get any fresh development from there. First, we'll dive into newspaper headlines before going into the main conversation. But before all of this, please, I would follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Enterprise TV 7, press the notification bell so you get notified whenever we drop our content. Of course, doing this together with me is Mr. Cyril Baku. Mr. Cyril is a public affairs analyst and a communicator. You're welcome, sir.
My pleasure.
To Enterprise Morning today. Now, without much, let's move straight to our newspaper headlines. And the first daily we have is the Daily Trust. And the Daily Trust, the big story there says, Yuletide, Tinubu cuts bus fare by 50%. Declares, that's all the rider we have, declares free train trips. We are ready for implementation, bus owners. On the top sleep of the same newspaper, we have Nigeria's debt now 87.9 trillion naira. And still on the top sleep of the same newspaper, we have pro-Wike lawmakers withdraw impeachment notice against Fubara, and the federal government vows to prosecute kidney traffickers. Mr. Cyril, let's go to the crux of the matter here, and especially on this freebie, you know, on this freebie that seems like Bola Tinubu is doing Father Christmas, all right? But before doing that, I would love to read a little quote from somebody on the definition of a progressive leader. And the definition says, a progressive leader are interested in change and progress. They like to think of new ways of doing things and can make sense of numerous variables interacting simultaneously and are much more comfortable with tasks of higher complexity. Do you really think President Bola Tinubu is a progressive leader?
Oh, well,
especially with this for the Christmas, he seems to be doing the Nigerians.
So, I mean, in the ideological sense, you talk of progressivism. You cannot talk of progressivism without talking of without talking welfareism.
Okay.
They go pari passu because this is welfareist, basically.
Okay.
Government of welfare, social welfare, free transport, subsidies, and things like that. So, if only on account of this particular initiative, we could say this is a progressivist or welfareist for policy.
For 15 days?
But for but in terms of his person and in terms of what we've seen him do between May 29 and now, excluding what he did in Lagos State, so we cannot begin to look at it in the past 7 or 8 months. What has the president exactly done? Has he been welfareist? So I do not think that the president is personally so he's a philanthropist. Okay. But then, as a leader in government in the past 8 months, has he been particularly welfareist? Palliatives are not welfareism. Palliatives are an intervention. Okay. Well, a welfareist is someone who sets out to initiate welfareist policies from the get-go. It's not about it's not a palliative intervention. No. So you can't use interventionism to say it passes for welfareism. There are two different things. That's one. Number two, the progressive idea, you see, the definition you gave is a social definition. In political science or in economics, when we talk a progressive leader is somebody who looks at social inequality and will deliberately provide a ladder to enable the poor travel from poverty into wealth. But from the time President Tinubu came, I mean, even if it was only for one when the subsidy is gone, too many people have gone from wealth or from rich or into the other side. So sometimes you see some people at the bus station, this person looks like a car owner. But a lot of people have been decreed into the lower rung. Even the bus fares that are being slashed, go and check now. Transporters have already hiked the fares up. So if when they're slashing it, they're only slashing.
So
it
it's just coming still back to what it used to be.
Yes, now. I mean, you can go downtown and check. It's not just bus fares, even food prices. Typically during Yuletide, prices rise, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Good. So the increase, is it that they are going to, because I mean, I think there's an element, it's called in economics. Demand is high during festive periods. As a result of that, people are going to want to buy more. Sometimes some businesses even are doing price slash, if only to attract people to come, you bonus and all those things. But normally during Christmas period, transport costs are always very high because of the high rate of demand. So between May 29 and now, it was already high. During this Christmas period, it will even be higher. So when you say you're slashing by 50%, you wind up taking it back to what it was. That is, if it's even successful, it will only go back what it was pre-Christmas, which is still very high. So for example, 5 years ago, Lagos Port Harcourt was how much? 4,555. Then as at now, it's around 20 something, 40 something. With Christmas in the picture, it must have risen to as much as 50. So if you're slashing it maybe to like 25, 30-ish, thereabout, which is still unreasonably high. So it's like it is trying to change and yet remaining the same. So that's where we are. It's an initiative, yes, it's good. But the point is, it is only believe me, it may not particularly encourage travel. If you're talking about the free train rides, maybe we can look at that.
You can't look at that, because even if you want to look at that, what is the network of the train rides? Because the train rides we're talking about, maybe from Lagos to where?
To Ibadan.
Does it cut across the south? Does it cut across the southeast? So what are we talking about?
The Abuja Kaduna, has issues with the safety, security, so a lot of people are mindful of people traveling there. If you've not dealt with security, how are you sure that people are going to massively and happily? I mean, for those who maybe haven't ridden before, or those who just feel let them still just do it since it's free, maybe it may attract them. But the fact is, if the security company that has not taken care of, especially what happened in Tudumbiri and what happened on the Kaduna Abuja rail line, is it last or 2 years ago, people were taken and left in captivity for more than a year or two. It may not be the best way to advertise it, but the point is this, Henry. Since the train routes have their infrastructure network already, I think there's one going there. Is it Itakpe? Is that the one in Edo now?
Okay.
The one around Okpela that.
But is it functional? That's the problem.
At least the last one, people were riding it and kidnappers came and kidnapped them. So for the routes that are functional, if security is provided adequately, why not? People should take advantage of it.
Now, I would love to ask you, though I stand to be corrected. Some Nigerians, some thoughtful Nigerians have had this illusion that when you go to the north, the leadership style in the north is made such that one person is in charge, then a bulk of people look towards him, right? And that is the reason I want to believe there's so much poverty, okay, amongst a larger number of people, while the people at the top are just... Do you think that Bola Tinubu is towing towards that line? Because what he keeps doing is giving stipends instead of encouraging people to get to that ladder, empowering people. Do you think he is towing towards that?
I hear you, but I think it may be uncharitable to look at our president and dress him in the toga of somebody who wants to create, is it a feudal or attempt to impose, I mean, that sort of system in which you give crumbs and everybody wants
and everybody rushes because...
so the president is... I can't think that's... No, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Position. But I think that, by and large, things should get better. It's about policy, it's about vision, it's about capacity and competence in leadership, it's about character, it's about the ability to charismatically mobilize people who are around you, sell a vision to them, and see how they're able to interpret that vision into policy and then make it work, execute it. He has quite a good thing with him today. Looking at his Lagos First 11, I mean, if you allow me to use that term, the Wale Edmunds of this world, the Emeka Dosis of this world, they are all still very much with him. Hopefully, in the new year, the government will turn a new leaf. The president himself has admitted that much.
That?
At the NBA conference,
okay,
he said that we're going to consult. Quoting him, we're going to consult. I, for one, I thought that the president wasn't consulting enough prior to that time. But then for him to have gone to the conference to say we're going to consult, I think he understands his own shortcomings. Because I would expect that as leader, you cannot consult enough. You keep consulting, you keep asking questions. Ask yourself, for example, why is it that Obasanjo, in the recent past, and anybody up to that point who was in the nation's political space would have been happy enough to know that in 1995 there was a Abacha conference which had some good provisions. In fact, that was the conference that created these 6 geopolitical zones. On the back of that, later on, we had the Obasanjo conference in 2005 or so, had recommendations. Jonathan came and organized another conference in 2014. So you cannot wish away certain things. You must sit down, you must hold conversations, you must talk. I think that the areas where the government has made its most mistakes are areas where they didn't sit down to ask questions. You must ask across party lines if necessary, across religious lines, across ethnic lines, labor unions. You must sit down and ask important questions. If you fail to do so, so I think maybe the president came into government with a lot of hopes and believing that these people I'm talking about
that things will automatically work on its own
once they do this and do that. But it won't happen like that. They will have to see. So maybe in the new year he will rejig his strategy and consult some more. Because I know if he did that, he would succeed.
All right, fine. So let's move to the second daily we have, and that's from the Daily Sun. And the big story there says Christmas food prices fair rise as Tinubu approves 50% transport subsidy, just like we had on the last newspaper. On the right, we have federal government takes over half interstate travel caused by vehicles, 100% for train trips for 15 days. Under the top sleep of the newspaper, we have Rivers. Parties implement peace accord terms. On the down sleep of the Daily Sun, we have Oshomole, biggest threat to APC, says Amosun. And we still have Lalong sworn in as Senator. Akpabio declares Gidam Umahi's seat vacant. President submit names of 11 Supreme Court justice nominees to Senate for confirmation. And Mr. Cyril, let's dig deep a little bit into politics. What do you think is happening between Oshomole and Amosun, especially when it comes to the APC?
No, they are digging old wounds. But the fact is, it won't get anywhere. It won't get any messier than the pointing fingers that they're doing.
Oh, okay.
Let me explain to you. Mr. Oshomole is the president. There's no need to flog the point. Mr. Oshomole is Mr. President's ally.
Okay.
And then I'm also on fire, me too, are the president's men.
Okay.
So there was a time when Oshomole was taken out of office. I don't want to go into all the nitty-gritty of it. But you remember that even when Oshomole left office and the APC broke its own law by appointing Maimala Buni as acting chairman of the party. Buni, Fayemi and Co., the so-called group that ganged up against Oshomole, went to Bodilon to proceed to Mr. President. Okay? Back then, it was believed that kicking out Oshomole meant that they were taking the party off of Mr. Tinubu's control or leadership by proxy.
Yeah.
Of course, it did. In fact, the commentator came on Tinubu and said, they've insulted you, they've messed you up enough, leave the party. They said the end had come for Tinubu. But the man kept his cool. But I remember that the following morning, Buni and Co. went to Bodilon to say, Mr. Former Governor of Lagos, Mr. Ashwaju, APC national leader, we are loyal to you. You know, we know, they still related with him. And you see, the thing is, politicians have a way of cooking up these things in the public and to give the appearance of course, it may not even be intended to be brick bats. Somebody said something, another person responded, but believe me, they may meet at a joint tonight and just talk it over. Sure. So I'm not, but of course, there was a gang up, but the gang up didn't. The coup succeeded initially, but it didn't lead to the outcome that some people had anticipated.
Okay, so that's good. So let's move on to the good old, I specifically want to say the good old the Daily Times, right? And the big story there says it says a suspected awaiting trial terrorist in Kaduna botched escape bid. And on the right there, it says allegedly pour peppery substance on guards on way to court. Confined to inner cells as punishment. Accused killers of Kajuru Chief Kaduna bound trains attackers and monks escaped Castina awaiting trial. Inmates nabbed in Kaduna. And on the downsleep of the newspaper, we have federal government declares 50% discount on interstate bus trips, just like we had on the past newspapers that we read. The Senate begins a screening of 11 justices for Supreme Court appointment. So let's go a bit to the big story there. We say it's a suspected awaiting trial terrorist in Kaduna botched escape bid. Now, this looks like Nollywood, to be honest to you. Because I don't understand how in 2023, with all the security architecture that we have, and we are being told that terrorists escaped the shackles of our security architecture.
Now,
what is happening?
Now, last week, I think, if a retired military personnel granted an interview, I think to the Vanguard, and did point out the fact that some senior of government officials in northern government houses were sympathetic to terrorists. Now that's a very serious allegation to make. That's a very serious thing to say. You would think that such a matter should be investigated and, where necessary, arrests be made. What he's saying is not new. A former president in this country said that Boko Haram members were even on his cabinet. A retired chief of defense staff said that there were fifth columnists in the military. In fact, that man was even was assassinated. I think he was killed. He was killed. The former CDS, retired CDS, a whole chief of defense staff, was killed. But before he died, he said that there are people in the military who didn't want the war on terror to end. So you can look at this, and then somebody is coming to say now that the first thing is terrorism is not theft, is not armed robbery. Terrorism is treason. Okay? Is insurrection. You use words like terrorism or insurrection. This is rebellion against the state. What are you supposed to do? What you should have done is that people like that, when they're going to court, you chain them. Have you seen them in Guantanamo Bay before? You chain their hands. Not
both their hands and their legs.
You chain their hands, connect it to their feet. You chain them. Because before somebody becomes a terrorist, in the Nigerian case, maybe people don't know. Let me give you a little bit of hint into how these people are trained. They are even trained. They are trained in the desert. Okay. The training they have is not even the type you give your regular army, because the regular army is trained with rules. Is that not so? These people are trained preparing to die, so they can take anything down with them when they're going. They are trained with all kinds. So people like this, person like that was trying to escape. Where did he get the pepper substance from?
That is the question.
And now they were told that prison warders were the ones who were helping terrorists to transfer money and so on. Is this country a joke? Are we really serious about fighting terrorism? So until we are ready to deal with fundamental questions about who is manning where, I have very little sympathy for any attempt to try to say that we are that we're getting things better in the security side of the country. It's not going to get better. There are things you must specifically do. Okay? There are things you must specifically do to make sure that you see things like this make us ask, how did Tudunbiri happen in the first? That person has Tudunbiri is dying. The reverse crisis, came and took over.
Yes, exactly.
Tudunbiri may die a natural death. Nobody will care. Somebody was asking, are there people with jihadist tendencies in the army who might have pressed that button?
But that was mated. That what wasn't. That was 80% of casualties weren't people of the opposite.
No.
So why would you say
It's not
or
me saying
assume?
It's not me saying it.
Yeah.
People, I've had people insinuate all kinds of things.
Okay.
Now the question is, it takes nobody should say why am I even saying that in the first place? Why have they not investigated to tell us what happened? You leave room for all kinds. Did you hear when Daily Trust wrote an editorial saying that the military should stop bombing innocent Northerners for the fun of it? Because what you do to someone else as fun, when that sort of fun is finished and you want more fun, what are you going to do? You will turn it on. I'm not saying that that's what happened here, but I'm just saying that, you see, over time, when wrong continues for a long time, it becomes right, and what is right can go either left, either right or left, either ways. So we must deal with the fun with the Henry. Why haven't we investigated and unraveled what happened with Tundu Bilibala?
Well, maybe it's still ongoing.
And
we're still
this is
going
the story,
through it.
right?
Yes.
Normally, news stories are written the day after they happen, or published the day after they happen. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I'm not aware, so we need to go into the story to find out whether indeed there's an investigation on the way to unravel. And look, when these things happen, you must fire. We've lost it in this country completely. You must fire. This if not for the Daily Trust, even Daily Times. I've not seen this story anywhere else.
It's true, very true.
So, but are we going to get to the bottom of it to know what really happened there?
Well, to get more facts on that particular story, head on to page 5 of the Daily Times. Mr. Cyril, there's a very big image here, all right, with a rider. Awka Capital Territory Development Authority commences enforcement of zero hawking and roadside trading in Awka Capital City, Anambra State. Why I'm bringing this to the front burner is we have a Chukuma Soludo who is purported as a guru in macro and microeconomics.
No, he is not purported.
He is.
Proven.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much. So with all of this, why is it difficult for this man to implement all the wonderful advice he gives to nations, to universities? Why is he not bringing it to Anambra State?
It's very simple.
Because if you take a look at the image, you see his boys breaking down lots of things and all of that.
It was in 2005, thereabout, or 4. I was entering journalism that time as a corp reporter. And they said the president had appointed a new governor for the central bank, or a new special advisor on a new chief economic advisor, which was Soludo. We went from economic advisor to CDM.
Yes.
So they said, so they were reeling out his profile. They said first class economics, VC's best grad student.
True.
First class economics and masters again.
UNN,
VC's best grad student, and then PhD and everything.
PhD, yeah.
World thoroughbred economist. So as economic advisor to the president, he developed an economic policy called NEEDS, N-E-E-D-S. Thereafter, he became, but long story short, so I'm looking at it in 2 ways. One, it may be that the technocrat is not able to become a good leader. That's my thinking now. But the question, why did he vie for office if he knew that
in the first place?
So that's the first question. But I remember that I was a staunch backer and supporter, not financially, but I was a staunch backer and supporter of Soludo. In fact, I famously said on TV that time, I said, Soludo's record is longer than a track on which he wants to run for governor. That all those who are running with him for governor, his own record alone is longer than a track, the whole track. We talk about track record. But having become governor now, for about 2 years.
2 years,
the man has underperformed.
Very, very, very underperformed.
He has underwhelmed. He's very underwhelming. I can't imagine that I had given him the support that it's okay. It's hindsight now, but Soludo needs to sit back and ask himself very important questions. Why he's performing the way he's performing? He still has enough time to redeem his image. So But what he can do is that in this day and age, Anambra has capacity, Anambra has a lot of potential. He's not even trying to tap into
the human capital,
especially, and then to make what makes Anambra Anambra, bring it into the digital space, and to open up Anambra to the world, and to look at its markets and drive innovation. He's not even looking
But my question is, do you think in Nigerian politics, is there a smoke screen that makes these people not see?
Please, Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno
Yes.
has proven that wrong.
Okay.
Even Ruth Mamichi of River State proved it wrong. Look, I may not be a fan of Ruth Mamichi, but I can tell you that in the annals of Nigerian governorship, by the time you list up to the best 10 or best, let's even say 7, Amechi was a solid performer. Amechi in Rivers was a solid performer. Forget that. It was when he joined APC that he sort of missed his way. But Amechi was a solid performer. There are
infrastructures, in spite of all the bridges that Wike was launching every other week.
There are very few governors. No, building bridges is not development now. The bridges was building in a particular part of the state. That's not till today. If you go to River State, the things Amechi did, right? You can only compare him with Alfred Dates, with the first military governor of 1960s. I can tell you that for free. I may not be a fan of the man, but if you go and check Amechi's record, the only governor who matches him, of course, I can't say he did better than him, but the only person who I can compare him with was Governor Spiff of 77-75. So when you look at Professor Zulum of Borno is an A-list governor. People may not be singing this, but he's an A-list governor. Go and check what he has done. Primary schools of one-story building with AC and everything inside. Nursery schools, go and check. And that's the start of Boko Haram. But you have a professor, Professor Solube in Anambra, who is not to have understood that he's governor now.
Honestly, he still doesn't feel that he owes people the responsibility, especially people from his state. Well, let's see how that goes. Well, that's just about the time we have our newspaper review. And of course, I'd love to say thank you, Mr. Cyril, for having the time and making out the time also for being part of our Enterprise Morning today. When we return, the grass on the other side of the fence is not as green as it seemed. There are more than 1,000 Nigerians stranded in the UK after being lured there with fake jobs, according to the IOM. This in a bit. When we come back, it's still Enterprise Morning. Don't go anywhere.